I never thought burying my dad would feel so empty. The sky that day was gray and heavy, like it was carrying the same weight I felt in my chest. We stood in a small cemetery just outside Richmond, Virginia. Only about 30 people showed up, mostly old Navy buddies, a few neighbors, and me. No big crowd, no fancy service, just like Dad would have wanted. He was 71 when his heart finally gave out after years of pushing through pain he never complained about. I remember staring at the plain wooden casket and thinking, this is really it. Dad had raised me and my brother alone after Mom left when we were little. He was a retired Navy SEAL, tough as nails, quiet as a shadow. Never bragged, never flashed money. We lived in a modest 3-bedroom house with an old blue pickup truck in the driveway that he fixed himself every weekend. He taught me how to change oil before I learned how to drive. He taught my brother Marcus how to tie a proper knot and stand up straight when life tried to knock you down. But money? There was never any. We ate simple meals, shopped with coupons, and Dad always said, we got everything we need right here. I believed him. When the lawyer read the will 2 days earlier, it was just 1 page. The house, the truck, his old medals, and a small savings account that barely covered the funeral. Nothing else. No stocks, no retirement windfall, no hidden accounts. I stood there at the grave thinking, he left me love, he left me lessons, but nothing else. My eyes stung, but I didn't cry in front of everyone. SEAL daughters don't break easy. That's when I felt someone step up beside me. A tall man in full dress uniform, 4 shiny stars on each shoulder. His face was serious, lined with years of command. He waited until the last person walked away, then spoke low, almost like he didn't want the wind to hear. I'm General Marcus Reed. I served with your father for 12 years. He saved my life more than once. I nodded, still numbed. He slipped a small white card into my hand. No name, just a Swiss phone number and the words, ask for Mr. Laurent, written in neat block letters. Then he looked me straight in the eyes and said the words that stopped my whole world. Fly to Geneva. Give them your father's full name. They'll understand. My heart literally skipped. I opened my mouth but nothing came out. Geneva? Switzerland? Dad had never even left the country after retirement except for 1 fishing trip to Canada. What was this man talking about? Before I could ask a single question, General Reed gave me a small, respectful nod, turned, and walked away between the headstones. The card felt warm in my palm like it was burning. I stood there alone with the casket, the gray sky, and one burning question echoing in my head. What secret did my dad take to the grave? Back home that night, I sat at the kitchen table staring at that plain white card like it might disappear if I blinked. The house felt too quiet without Dad's radio playing old country songs in the background. I kept replaying the general's words in my mind. Fly to Geneva, they'll understand. My phone buzzed. It was Marcus. Sis, you still at the house? I'm coming over. We need to talk about selling Dad's truck before it rusts out. When he walked in, he looked the same as always, handsome in that careless way. But his eyes already had that hungry look I knew too well. Marcus was 33, 2 years older than me, and he had spent the last 10 years chasing one big break, after another, crypto, day trading, a failed food truck. Always in debt, always asking Dad for just a little help. Dad would quietly pay the bill, then sit Marcus down and say, son, real men build, they don't borrow. Marcus never listened that I showed him the card. He laughed out loud. Dad? Rich. Come on, Emily. The man clipped coupons until the day he died. This general is probably senile or selling some scam. Geneva? That's where rich people hide money, not Navy SEALs who drove a 20-year-old Ford. He tossed the card back like it was junk mail. But something in General Reed's voice had stuck with me. It wasn't excitement, it was respect. The kind of respect you only give to someone who earned it the hard way. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept opening Dad's old footlocker in the garage. Medals, old photos, a faded SEAL trident. Nothing screamed secret millionaire. Yet the general's words kept echoing. By morning I had made up my mind. I booked a one-way ticket to Geneva for the next day. Cost me almost everything I had in savings, but I had to know. As the plane took off, I whispered to myself, Dad, if this is nothing, I'll come home and laugh about it. But if it's something, I need to hear it from you. Little did I know I was flying toward a truth that would shake our entire family apart. Geneva greeted me with cold air and even colder buildings. I had never been to Europe. Everything felt too clean, too quiet. I took a taxi straight to the address on the card. An ordinary-looking office building on Rue du Rhône. No big signs, no gold doors, just a small brass plate that read, Laurent and Associates, Private Fiduciary Services. My hands were shaking when I walked in. The receptionist didn't even ask my name. She just looked at me and said softly, "You are here for Mr. Laurent. Please follow me." We went down 3 floors in a private elevator, through heavy security doors, and into a room that felt more like a vault than an office. Mr. Laurent was a calm Swiss gentleman in his 60s. He opened a thick folder and asked me to say my father's full name out loud. The moment I spoke it, his eyebrows lifted. He typed something into a secure terminal, then turned the screen toward me. "Miss, your father established this trust in 2004. He funded it quietly for 20 years from private consulting work, investments, and certain classified payments that cannot be discussed. Current value is approximately $14.7 million US. I actually felt the room tilt. 14 million. He kept talking, but I barely heard him. The trust wasn't flashy money in a checking account. It was a carefully structured legacy fund, earmarked first for veterans' families in need, then for his children under very specific rules. I was named sole successor trustee. Marcus was listed, but with heavy restrictions. Dad had done all of this in complete silence while we thought he was just a retired guy fixing lawnmowers on weekends. That I sat there shaking, tears running down my face for the first time since the funeral. Not from sadness. This time it was pure shock mixed with pride so strong it hurt. My dad, the man who never bought himself new clothes, had quietly built a fortune that could change lives. Mr. Laurent slid a single photograph across the desk. It was Dad in his younger days, standing beside General Reed in some desert somewhere, both smiling the way men smile when they've seen too much together. On the back, Dad had written in his neat handwriting, "For my children when they're ready to understand real strength." That was the moment everything changed. The family fracture betrayal emerges. I called Marcus from the hotel that same night. My voice was still trembling. "Marcus, it's real. There's money. A lot of it." The phone went silent for 3 full seconds. Then he exploded. "What? How much?" "We split it right now. 50-50. I need it, Emily. I've got creditors calling me every day." I tried to explain the rules, the structure, the Veterans First clause. He didn't want to hear any of it. 2 days later, he showed up in Geneva. He had maxed out a credit card to fly over. The moment he walked into my hotel room, his eyes were wild. "Show me the papers. I want my half. Dad owed me this. He was always so cheap with me." That's when the real pain started. He reminded me of every time he had borrowed from Dad and never paid back. Every time he blamed Dad for his failures instead of taking responsibility. He had even forged Dad's signature on a loan once. Dad quietly fixed it and never told me. Marcus paced the room, voice rising. "You're going to keep it all for yourself, aren't you? Typical little sister. Always the favorite." The words cut deep. I had spent my whole life trying to make Dad proud, working 2 jobs through college while Marcus partied. And now, standing in a Geneva hotel, my own brother was accusing me of stealing from our dead father. He left slamming the door, shouting he would see me in court. I cried for hours that night. Not because of the money, because the one person who should have been celebrating Dad's legacy was already trying to tear it apart. Standing firm, the revenge of legacy. The lawyers in Geneva were clear. The trust was ironclad. No lump sum payouts. Structured support only, education funds, medical help, business loans with strict accountability.
Marcus sued anyway.
He flew home and filed in Virginia, claiming I had undue influence and demanding half immediately. The court date came 3 months later. I flew back nervous but calm. When Marcus stood up in front of the judge, his whole story fell apart. Bank records showed his debts, his failed schemes, even the forged loan from years ago. The judge looked at him with quiet disappointment and said, "This trust was designed exactly to protect against exactly this kind of thinking." Marcus lost. He sat there humiliated, face red. While the courtroom stayed silent, afterward I walked up to him outside. He wouldn't even look at me. I spoke softly. "I'm not cutting you off, Marcus. The trust will pay for you to finish that business degree you started years ago. It will help with your debts on a payment plan. But it has to be earned. That's how Dad wanted it." He finally met my eyes. For the first time in years I saw something real: shame, regret, maybe even the beginning of change. That was the moment the revenge happened. Not loud or cruel. Just the quiet victory of honor winning over greed. Dad's legacy stood untouched. Today I manage the trust from a small office in Virginia. The house is still the same, the old pickup still sits in the driveway, now with a new engine I paid for myself as a tribute. I've already helped 3 veterans' widows with medical bills and sent 2 young SEAL families to college. Every time I sign a check I feel Dad right beside me. Marcus is slowly changing. He's back in school, working part-time, and actually paying his structured payments on time. We talk now, real talks, not fights. He even visited the grave last month and left a note that simply said, "I finally get it, Dad." The real treasure was never the $14 million. It was understanding that my father's silence wasn't emptiness. It was strength. He built something that would outlive him, something that would force us to become better people. He gave us more than money. He gave us integrity. And that, more than anything, is what changed everything. Final moral, spoken slowly over soft music: true wealth isn't what you flash on the outside. It's what you build quietly in silence for the people you love. My Navy SEAL dad taught me that the hard way. So let me ask you. If someone handed you a card tomorrow and said fly to Geneva, what would you do? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. If this story touched you, give it a like, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more real stories of betrayal, justice, and quiet strength. I'll see you in the next one. Take care of each other.